Okay, good morning, Checkmate crew. Today is November 2nd, 2022. It is Wednesday, pre-FOMC, New York Stock Exchange opening bell, 9:30 a.m. Yours truly, Mickey Blindside here with your market memo. And as I said, it is pre-FOMC today. So let's get right down to business here. First things first, let's just look at our odds, all right? And these are our odds for today's rate hike. It is expected 90% chance, according to the Fed funds futures market, that we're going to go up by 75 basis points for the Fed funds rate, and that's what the FOMC announcement today is expected to bring. The real question now is for December 14th meeting, we're about half and half between a 50 basis point rate hike or another 75 basis point rate hike in December. So right now the odds are pretty much stacked even. We'll see if this changes today. Okay, so the December odds may change based on whatever Chairman Powell says. We'll see what he says today. If he has a hawkish tone, then perhaps we might see this the odds increasing for the 75 basis points. And, if that happens, I suspect, we may see a little bit of volatility in the markets as well. Okay. So, we'll see. We'll see. It still looks like, though, as if the market is pricing in the high end of, actually, look at that. It changed. We're actually increasing the odds of going to 5 and 525. Interesting. Remember when we looked at it earlier this week, the high was at 475, 500. Now it's at 500, 525. So it is shifting. And then it looks like a rate cut in September into December. Okay. Interesting. So now we're at 500, 525 for the first half of 2023, and we're dead even for, it's changing. Look at that. The odds are changing as we speak. Everything is changing. So, okay. So that's interesting. All right. Based on trades and based on what's going on. Okay, so we'll take a look at this tomorrow after the Fed announcement and see what's going on. As far as trades are concerned, okay, I am looking to place a few day trades, not day trades, but it will be overnight swing trades. It'll be very, very short-term trades, though. What I'm looking for is this. After the FOMC announcement, what's going to happen to the British pound and what is going to happen to the euro, okay? I suspect after the FOMC, all right, and after Jerome Powell talks, if the British pound surges, if the euro also goes up, and at the same time, we see the dollar index decline, okay? If that's the case, after the FOMC, I may go long on Euro Stoxx, okay? And I might do some weeklies on that. So actually, let's take a look at some of the weeklies right now on Euro Stoxx. Let's see here. FEZ. So yes, I might be taking these November 4ths. And it's going to be like a lotto, all right? In the morning, in about 30 minutes to an hour, in the morning, the options market is kind of it's kind of like this, where there's these huge spreads. Generally, these spreads will start narrowing after about 30 minutes or so into market open. But I may be playing this, or I may even play next week's. But I'll let you guys know via the Discord, and our links are in the video description. You can join. There's no paywalls. I send out all the live alerts out there, but I tell you guys, of course, in the videos about what my plans are ahead of time. But I might be going for the November 4th or the November 11th in just a quick swing trade, and just hold it overnight and just sell it an hour into the market open tomorrow. So that's what I might be doing. And again, what I'm looking for is the British pound and the euro closing at higher levels today after the FOMC announcement. And the reason for that is if we see the euro and the British pound move up, I think a lot of the dollar denominated accounts overseas in Europe, so the euro dollar accounts, I think a lot of that cash is going to start getting used up, and we might actually see overnight Euro Stoxx, the DAX, the German stock market, the FTSE, all of these might all just go up. FTSE is the British, the stock exchange in the UK. So we might see all those exchanges go up overnight if we are to see the euro and the British pound close at higher levels after FOMC. So that, again, that's a short-term trade. It's a short-term thing. It doesn't change my long-term thesis or anything. My main trade, the trade with the size to it is going to be when the DAX gets to 13,800. Although yesterday on Discord, I did say that it was very tempting to short at yesterday's level. And I think right now the DAX is pulling back from that. Yeah, it's pulling back from that. I saw this candle yesterday and I thought, gee, well, that looks kind of promising. I will remain patient, okay? I think this market is really about remaining patient and really picking your best shots. And I think the best shot really comes around this 13,800 zone, just shy of that 13,800 zone. So I have my alert set at this 13,580 or so, and I'm going to monitor this and watch it a little bit more closely after it gets to that level. And once it gets to that 13,700, 13,800 zone, I really want to buy some puts, long-term puts, January, February expiration on FEZ on Euro Stoxx, because Euro Stoxx and the German stock market are very, very, very correlated. There's a lot of German companies in the Euro Stoxx index. So I will be using that to short Euro Stoxx, put vertical spreads, probably January or February expiration, we'll see. All right, so that's the main trade. But again, just as a lotto overnight, if I see the British pound and the euro close up and the dollar index close down after FOMC, I might take some overnight lottos on FEZ. And already we're starting to see, no, not yet. So yeah, I might be choosing like more in the money, okay? Just because the spreads are a little bit better in the mornings, and I might need to do a quick exit. So I may go a little bit more in the money with the trade. So that's what I'm looking to do at the end of day. And again, I'll alert you guys what strike, what expiration I use, but I'm leaning toward the November 4th or the November 11th options chain at the moment. Okay, so that's the FOMC trade. I'm going to be patient. Okay, I'm going to wait for after the FOMC. I'm going to wait for the end of day to place this trade. Okay, so that's my plan for the day. Let's take a look. I did not sell our LYFT lotto. Oh, it's up. Look at that. So I'll keep this just in case if the market just tanks. I'll just hold on to this, and we'll see. It's a very small lotto. Okay, I literally bought 2 contracts. So what is that? That's absolutely nothing. All right, so it's just for fun. But I didn't sell. Zero or hero, baby. All right, when it comes to that. So that's our LYFT lotto. Nothing else has changed really. HUT, I still have not sold any covered calls on that yet. I'm still waiting for, for bigger levels, although I don't think we're going to get there anytime soon, but who knows, right? Especially if the market reacts favorably to the FOMC. It's, everybody knows that there's going to be a 75 basis point rate hike, right? But everybody is positioned for that. If you look at all the, the SPX and SPY options chain right now, everybody is super hedged on the short term, okay? They're not even using monthly options expiration for that. They're just using like 0 to 2 day till expiration options. There's a lot of activity on those options chains. Not only that, but there's a lot of dollar shorts, a lot of currency hedges, and a lot of treasury futures shorts as well. So if all of that, if everybody's positioned for one thing and then it actually happens, well, you might get the counter reaction, right? Just because everybody is unwinding their positions to quote unquote either take profit or to move on to the next trade. So we might see that counter reaction. Who knows? Okay. I'm not going to gamble on which way the FOMC, the market's going to go for, right after the FOMC. I know some people like to do that. I just won't be doing that. But I'll be waiting for the after reaction. What happens in the currency markets, and based on that, we can take a trade on Euro Stoxx, like I said earlier. But yes, HUT, no changes. UUUU, it is backing off a bit. Ooh, look at that. We're under 7 again. Good. Ooh, those that collar trade really got me scared. But it is backing off now. Good. I really would like to have these expire worthless. That would be nice. Okay. I would really not I don't want to really manage this and you have to worry about December's chain. I'd rather just have this expire worthless and then just go to December chain after a pop or something like that. But we'll see. We'll see. I haven't changed my plan on UUUU yet. As far as some of the other stocks, we had, Ford, Intel, all these other stocks that were in. They reported earnings last week. They all had positive reactions. We'll see. I still think there's a good chance that we might see some lower levels here on Ford. As you guys know, we've been trying to be patient on this and really picking our best entries to enter into a long-term position on these stocks. Intel's another one of them. Intel shot up a lot after the earnings announcement. I'm really not comfortable taking a long position on tech stocks until TNX really falls. And that's the 10-year treasury. And we're going to talk about the 10-year treasury pretty soon here. Let's just go through some of our other individual stocks, though. Intel's one of them. Ford was one of them. What else were we? Oh, we were looking at also GDX and the gold miners. We'll see. I mean, what if the dollar shoots up today after the FOMC, right? The gold will probably drop, and then we'll see the miners also drop as well, too. I am still looking to get long if we can get to around these levels right here. And again, it's just going to be a swing trade, maybe last a couple of weeks or so. It would be nice if we get those lower levels. But again, time will tell. We'll see. Okay. Next, let's talk about rates. Let's talk about inflation. Let's talk about the bond market here. Okay. So right now, we've been looking at our TIP TLT chart, and I think so. Here's the thing. Remember how we saw this huge movement in TIP TLT? I think this was because of a huge bid before the cutoff for the last round of those I series bonds, those inflation protected treasury bonds. This was, I think, last week was the last opportunity to get into 9+% yielding inflation protected treasuries. So I think that's where a lot of people put in some bids, and I think the next round of inflation protected treasuries is going to come out at like 6% or something like that. So I think that's where this bid came from, and as you can see, it's already falling, and it is on a daily chart now, making a lower high, and it is trying to attempt to make that lower low. And if it does that, I do suspect that might be some tailwind for growth stocks and tech stocks. Okay, so we might temporarily see our IVW IVE growth to value chart switch when that happens. Obviously, though, this chart doesn't look very good right now, and it's pretty much telling us that is not, we're not close to that yet. But that is something that I'm looking for on TIP TLT. I do think this is going to come back down until, I don't know, the next pivot, or, you know, around February, March of next year. That's when I think inflation will come back up again. But TIP TLT right now, it is making a lower high. Will it make a lower low? And if it does, though, I think that will be tailwind for tech stocks. Maybe we can go long on QQQ, some in the money calls or something like that. But until I see that signal, of course, I'm not going to be taking that trade. TNX, you know, TNX right now, this is still the chart to see. If this can back off a little bit, that would bring the TIP TLT ratio down, and, you know, we might see that tailwind in growth stocks. But as of now, it's just kind of hovering here, and it's been here now just for a few days. We'll see what happens after the FOMC today. We might see a reaction at the end of this week, early next week in the bond market. Generally, the reaction to the Fed meeting, it's not immediate. Sometimes it takes time. Sometimes a real, quote-unquote real reaction doesn't happen until the next week on Monday, okay? So let's be patient on this. I do think this backs off temporarily, though. I do think it will do that. We'll see, okay? The 2-year, 5-year, still away from its highs. We'll see what happens here as well, too, okay? But TIP TLT, definitely I'm watching this. I do think this is going to back off, though, a little bit. And I think this will make a new high perhaps early next year. Speaking of that, if it does do that, if TIP TLT starts making new highs, I am going to start a swing position on Mosaic, all right? And I think it's going to show that probably around January, February. So TIP TLT is a forward-looking indicator. So I do expect inflation to pick back up around March or April of next year. And if that's the case, TIP TLT will tell us. And if TIP TLT makes new highs, I'm going to start a long position on MOS. Okay, probably some option spreads, or maybe some leaps, in the money leaps or something like that. And then, you know, within the money leaps, you can also sell covered calls against that, the poor man's covered calls. I'll probably be doing something like that on Mosaic. But that's a trade that's like months down the road. But I'm just anticipating of what could happen. So I think this is going to just churn around here until end of this year, early next year, and then we might see a new leg and a new wave up on inflation stocks. And Mosaic is the inflation stock. Okay, it is the inflation stock. It is the most sensitive to inflation. It is the most correlated to inflation, okay? And it actually moved up ahead of inflation. It's actually a forward indicator. So a lot of professionals that I know actually use Mosaic as a forward indicator for inflation, okay? And so if TIP TLT starts moving up, you know, around January, February or so, I'm going to start legging into long-term, a little bit longer-term Mosaic positions. I know for some of you guys, when I talk in terms of 6 months or a year, you guys think that's long term. For me, long term is more like 5 or 10 years plus. Okay, so you know, when I say longer term, to me it's still a short term trade. You know, I'm probably going to hold on to this for a few months. I know for some of you that's like forever, but for me that's what I call short term. But yes. This will be, it won't be like weeks, it'll be like months. This will be like a multi-month trend that I'm going to try to exploit. Okay, so that's another trade that we're looking at. So I'll add that to our plan list as well. All right. For the most part, though, I'm not really, I'm still going to remain patient. I think we would be lucky if we can get a, if the VIX goes down and the markets decide to go up, I am still looking to short at that 41.25 zone, all right, for U.S. indices. with the way that IVWIVE chart looks like right now, I may be using QQQ puts if we get there like quickly, like this week, next week. If that happens, if this gets up to there like this week, next week, I'm using QQQ puts if we get there, okay? I don't know if that's likely or not, but I just have a plan. I have my alert set, we'll see what happens, okay? I can't predict the future, and neither can you. Nobody can, all right? I just have plans for what happens if the market goes in either direction, okay? I just have a plan. That's it. All right. China. Let's talk about China. Hong Kong, the Hang Seng Index made a outsized move in the last few days. I don't know if you guys noticed this or not, but last 2 days we have seen, I think, back-to-back 4 or 5% days in the Hang Seng. So from the bottom to where it is now, it's about 8.5%. That's a huge recovery. Apparently, there's some news about zero COVID policies that China is apparently dropping. There's like rumors, they're not going to follow through with their zero COVID policy anymore. I'm not surprised. They just had their Communist Party meeting where Xi Jinping secured his third term. And so maybe there was a lot of pressure to drop that from the business community. That could be, okay. Australian dollar, however, hasn't really given me a clear signal on whether or not that is, a sustainable move. Yes, Australian dollar has moved up a bit, and actually this kind of looks like, I mean, it could. But honestly, this could just be some short covering. We're still in a downtrend in Australian dollar. All right, and if it can't make a higher low right here, then I think then it's all BS. I think that the market is just calling BS on that. If China really does abandon the zero COVID policy, you're probably going to see a lot of banks, a lot of institutions position themselves for a demand in the Australian dollar because China gets a lot of their raw materials from Australia. So they need to buy Australian dollars to conduct that trade. So here, we would expect this to be going up. I'd want to see that. I want to see that higher low, higher high trend before really saying, okay, it's time to buy Chinese stocks again. All right. If this keeps going down and makes new lows, then no, that's either there's other issues or that's just not, it's just not true. Okay. And actually, I'm already seeing other reports too. I looked through some media reports, and it looks like there's some Chinese officials who are saying, no, they did not abandon the zero COVID policy. So again, I think it's just a lot of rumors right now. I think you can just chalk it up as rumors. Look at the Australian dollar. Let's see where it goes. This is usually a very good lie detector for China. I'm just watching this, and whatever happens in the Australian dollar, that's probably where FXI and all the Chinese indices will go. Okay. Speaking of Asia, let's actually look at Japanese yen too. We're talking about currencies. The Japanese yen, this thing, in hindsight, now I guess we should have taken that trade. This was scary though. This was a really scary candle, and that would have pushed a lot of people into stop loss territory right here. This was a scary, scary candle, and that's why I abandoned my plan after I saw that. I was like, nope, I'm not doing that. But it does look like, we'll see. I think if this ends at the lows of the day today, if this doesn't recover and just ends here, I might re-add the Japanese yen to our plan, and if this spikes up, like for a back test or something, I may short it there. Shorting the dollar yen pair, this chart. Okay, so if you're actually looking at it on a futures perspective, you would be going long the Japanese yen. Okay, so if on the Japanese yen US dollar ratio, if you're looking at this chart, then which is also the same chart as a similar chart to the 6J futures, and that's the vehicle that I'm going to be used to getting long. But if this can end at the highs of the day, the next back test down, that's when I'll go long on this chart. Okay, I might. Okay, we'll see what happens at FOMC. Again, now until FOMC, I'm not going to do anything. I will make decisions after FOMC. I might even wait another day or two because, again, the real reaction can happen after the weekend on that Monday. All right, so there's no rush. There's no rush. There's going to be an abundance of opportunities. Okay, so there's no real reason to rush here. All right. Cryptos. Nothing really has changed. We're still at that 1600 gamma, a high positive gamma zone. It looks like most of it is for November, although we're starting to see the December end of year expiration increasing as well too. All right, so that's what I've been noticing. That's the only change. As far as the open interest is concerned, we're still hovering around that 7.2, a little bit north of 7 billion in notional value. Like here we're seeing the December 22nd, 2022, March, November. These are the big volume contracts for the last 24 hours. We're seeing that 1600 call zone, that positive gamma zone right here. Let's see actually if there were any big block trades. Usually when the New York Stock Exchange opens, we can sometimes see that there's some big block trades that happen. Let's take a look. Oh, wow, look at that. 12907, sell. What is this? 1800. 1800 calls and puts. Somebody sold a straddle. Actually, yesterday it was not a straddle. Remember yesterday when we saw that? I said it was like a $1.2 million straddle on that 1600 calls November 25th. That actually was more of a that was more like a condor with no space in between. One of our members was able to spot that. One of our members is overseas and actually has a Deribit account, and he showed us that it was actually a condor trade, an iron condor trade. So thank you for that. But still, in essence, it's still a very similar trade. They're short on volatility, and they're expecting the price not to move that much until, at least for November, around that 1600 zone. So that's a correction for yesterday's trade. But today, it looks like this is a short straddle. I don't know if this is also a condor trade or not. Let's actually take a look here. They make non-account holders, they make this kind of difficult. 120907. So that isn't that the exact same time as this? Oh, it is. It's the exact same time. And they bought November calls and puts. So buying a November 18th strangle, but selling a long-term March straddle. Interesting. I don't know if that's the same trade or if it just happened to be around the same time. That I don't know. That I don't have access to that. But if our friends overseas, if you notice that it's all grouped under the same trade, let me know. Because that's interesting. That's an interesting trade. That would mean that they're expecting big moves, maybe for FOMC, there's CPI, and there's also the midterm elections. So it could be positioning for that. That would be interesting. So that 120907 timestamp is on these two trades too. Let's see if there's any other timestamps. 120907. I don't see any 120907s. But, I mean, that doesn't mean it's not the same entity. I mean, they could have spaced out the trades, too. So that doesn't really tell us much. But that 120907, it seems quite convenient, though, that the timestamps are the same. Okay? And, you know, it's one of these combo trades. We'll see. Okay, that's very interesting. So, but we are the important thing is we are starting to see a lot more participation in the Ethereum options market, and so I think the options market is going to exert itself more onto the price of Ethereum. And we've been seeing that ever since it got north of that 7 billion zone. We've started seeing that, you know, those gamma pins working. And then as order flow came in, those gamma pins kind of shifted up. And I think we're still going to be pinned around that 1600 zone, unless, you know, order flows change drastically or anything like that. And it could, you know, if the open interest starts, you know, going up to like, I don't know, 8 billion, 8.5 billion, and it's all on the call side, yeah, we could start seeing a shift upward in the price of Ethereum as there's more and more speculators. But as of now, as long as there's no real big change in the order flow, I do think that for the rest of the month, we may be just going up and down around that 1600 zone. Right now, ETH is a little bit south of 1600. I think the last time I checked, it was around 1550. Yeah, it's around 1550 or so. So we'll see. Okay. I do think, though, we're going to chop around here for a bit. We might see big moves, you know, past 1600, back down below 1600 based on the news events that we have. And again, we've got FOMC today. We've got next week. We've got midterm elections. And we've got also the CPI report coming out next week, too. Okay. So those are the things to look ahead. Anything else you guys want to look at today? All right, then. In that case, we'll call it a day, and I'll still hang around Discord. And again, after the FOMC, I'll let you guys know what trades I take. But like I said, our Discord invitation link is in the description below. So come join our Discord, be a part of our growing community. There's no sub fees, no paywalls. It's of the people, by the people, for the people. So if you enjoyed our video, hit like, follow, subscribe, comment, show us some love, baby. All right, so I'll see you guys tomorrow, same time, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time, New York Stock Exchange open. I'll see you guys then for another market memo. Trade safe. I'll see you guys soon.